Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our WCW What If series in TEW 2020. I, of course, am Sierra Daredevil, and it is time for Clash of the Champions. It is going to be a very interesting show here as we have all of the championships in WCW on the line, and we will have to see how the show ends up playing out. I already have a feeling that it's not going to be a great rating for us. We may end up not making people too happy, but we'll see. We'll see how it happens. And it's going to be a pretty interesting show for sure, as we have the Giant versus Steve Austin in the main event for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. We have Rikishi Fatu challenging Steven Regal for the United States Championship. We have the tag team titles on the line as the New World Order. Jerry Lynn and Sean Wallman challenge Sting and Barry Windham for the tag team titles. Cruiserweight titles on the line as Jushin Thunder Liger defends against Silver King. And we will also find out what's going on with the women's title. Because, of course, we were supposed to have a number one contender crowned on Thunder. But Miyu Osaki got involved in the number one contenders matchup. And so we're not sure what's happening. But let's dive into things. In front of 56,000 people at the Washington RFK Stadium, a sold-out arena, we have a video from the NWO. They got a 76 because I put everybody except for Dynamite Kensai on entertainment, so everybody else got brought down. The segment got brought down a little bit because everybody else isn't there, but I got to get them better somehow. But anyway, we get a 76 for this video here. And it's basically just kind of some highlights of the New World Order and their time here at WCW, while also Brett talking about how they've been around for about a year and a half now, and that they will continue to run WCW here, that there's not anybody out there who can stop them, especially the Four Horsemen. No one out there can stop the New World Order. 76 there. Our opening contest of the evening is an 80 rated matchup as Too Cold Scorpio defeats Lance Storm in 13-10 by pinfall. That is the don't miss to make defense number 2 of the World Television Championship. 80 from Scorpio, 69 from Lance Storm, and just like that, Too Cold Scorpio defeats Lance Storm. So Lance Storm cannot have another shot at the TV title for as long as Scorpio is champion. 80 rating there, really good stuff. Good to see the television championship having a really good match rating there. And we'll have to see where things go heading forward. I mean, Lance Storm now, no longer in the TV title picture. And Too Cold Scorpio. We'll have to see where his title reign continues from here. We get 65 here. Somehow Piper didn't do well without a script to follow, which doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. But Roddy Piper is standing backstage with Medusa, Megumi Kudo, and Mayumi Osaki. Security's kind of, there, keeping them from all fighting with each other. Piper says that yesterday at Thunder, there was a match between Megumi Kudo and Medusa. Where it was supposed to be the number one contender, but Osaki got involved and got both of them disqualified, so it was a draw. And so, there's going to be a women's title match up here tonight. But who's the number one contender? Well, it's the winner of that match. And all three of them are like, "What are you talking about, Piper? It was a draw." And Piper's like, "That's right, the winner of the match. Technically, they both won the match. I mean, draws are draws, and it's not really a loss. It's not really a victory, but it's also not really a loss. Because Megumi Osaki got involved and cost both of them their opportunity, then technically, both of them are going to get their opportunity. So tonight, it's going to be a triple threat match. Megumi Osaki, Megumi Kudo, and Medusa for the Women's World Championship. Megumi is not happy about this, obviously. She doesn't want to have to defend against two other people. But Kudo and Medusa are kind of looking forward to it, but also realizing that they're going to have to fight it out again 24 hours later to determine to try to become the new WCW Women's World Champion. So there you go. Triple threat match here tonight between these three women for the Women's World Championship. Then we got a 44 rating here. I knew it wasn't going to do that good. But I wanted to keep it on the main card. wanted to keep it on the main card and get Liger the popularity boost that I'm trying to get him. But about that subpar wrestling, non-existent crowd heat because they were both unimportant. Jushin Thunder Liger defeats Silver King in 12:51 by pinfall to make defense number 2 of the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. 62 from Liger, 37 from Silver King. He's working through an injury right now, so that also didn't help things. But I got a 44 still, even with the crowd, or even with the crowd not caring about it. So that's not bad at all. But there you go. So Jushin Thunder Liger retaining the Cruiserweight Championship, and we'll have to see who's next to take on Liger. Then we get a 65 rating here because there was very little drama. I put this match for too long based off of the psychology that they both had, apparently. But in a decent matchup, Mark Mero defeats Al Snow in 10:20 by pinfall to Shooting Star Press. 65 rating for the match, 69 from Al Snow, 66 from Mark Mero. I'll see it for the storyline, but there you go. So Mark Mero was able to defeat Al Snow and kind of move one step closer to getting his one-on-one match with Raven. Kind of a little disappointed by the lack of psychology thing, but to be fair, I think they both are in the 50s right now, psychology-wise, which is annoying. But there you go. So we'll have to see if Mark Mero can move on to get his match against Raven, or if he has to go through some other step first. We'll have to see if Raven actually steps up to accept that one-on-one challenge or not. We get an 88 rated segment here. Good stuff. Way to well, try to bring the crowd back into it. It didn't say if it would help the crowd get hotter again, but whatever. As Chris Jericho and Dustin Rhodes are standing backstage, they're kind of talking. Jericho's like, man, I plan on getting a shot at the WCW World Title in the future, but congrats to you for winning World War III. I mean, you had a good job and you took care of that Booker T Punk. I've never liked that kid to begin with. You took care of him, so it's good to see you. Good to see you're doing stuff there. Maybe we need to kind of teasing the idea of some sort of alliance between the two of them. Kind of just teasing stuff there. And Dustin's like, you know what? I mean, I know you got Team Canada and all that stuff, but that's not a terrible idea. That's not a terrible idea. I mean, there's a lot of people kind of pairing up here in WCW. That's not a terrible idea. And Dean Malenko shows up, and Jericho's like, oh god, this guy. Of course, he's had his run-ins with Dean Malenko in the past multiple times. And Malenko is just like, doesn't really matter if you two want to team up or whatever the heck you're talking about here. Doesn't really matter, because Dustin, I'm going to take care of you in due time. And Jericho, I've kicked your ass enough times in the past. Maybe you should, Dustin, maybe you should be asking Jericho about tips on how to lose to me. And everybody's like, oh. And then Alex Wright shows up, and Jericho's like, the hell are you doing here, Pipsqueak? Get the hell out of here. And Alex Wright is like, I have just as much of I deserve to be here just as much as you do. And if I'm having to jump through all these hoops to get my hands on you again, why don't we do this little thing here? Why don't you two team up against myself and Dean here on this coming episode of Nitro in technically 2 days' time. And so it doesn't really get revealed that it is going to be for sure, but spoilers, that match is happening on Nitro. So it'll be Dustin Rhodes and Chris Jericho teaming up against Dean Malenko and Alex Wright on Nitro. So that should be a pretty big match there. It might honestly be the main event of Nitro. So that will be very interesting to see how that plays out. 88 rating here for that, though. Really good stuff there. We get a 68 rated matchup for the Women's World Title. The sees Mayumi Ozaki defeats Medusa and Megumi Kudo in a triple threat match at 13:27. When Ozaki pinned Medusa with a quick cradle to make defense number 3 of the Women's World Title. 67 from Kudo, 62 from Ozaki, and 60 from Medusa. Good stuff there. We are actually at the point with the women's division storyline where a 68 rated matchup did not gain heat for the storyline. That's crazy. But there you go. Mayumi Ozaki retaining the championship thanks to, it was one of those things where Medusa hit Kudo with the German suplex and was for some reason she didn't keep keep the pinfall there. Like, she hit her with her signature German suplex, but for some reason didn't keep the bridge on. And so when Medusa went to get up over, she got rolled up from behind by Ozaki and pinned for the 3 count. So there you go. Probably technically holding the tights or something like that during it, but there you are. So Miyu Ozaki defends the Women's World Championship against both of these women. But, Kudo didn't get pinned. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But there you go. Then we have an 85 rated United States Championship matchup. Let's see Steven Regal defeat Rikishi Fatu in 10:51 by pinfall with an exploder suplex. My God. Rikishi Fatu is not a small man, so to get hit with an exploder suplex for the victory is pretty big. And the crowd the crowd and everybody else kind of sells it like such. But gets an 85 here as Steven Regal gets a 94. Rikishi Fatu gets 70. Regal making defense number 4 of the United States Championship. Eddie Guerrero was at ringside and was kind of keeping an eye out for any new World Order members showing up. But Regal was able to get the job done. So there you go. We'll have to see if Eddie can end up getting that shot against Steven Regal in the near future, or what's going to happen with it. Then, before we have our final 2 matches of the night, we have the Horseman backstage. Gets an 84. Honestly, kind of weird that it did get an 84. Maybe because it wasn't storyline rated? Oh, it was being short too. Okay, that makes sense. Because the idea was, this is basically similar to the segment earlier in the week where it's Pillman and Flair talking, and everybody else just kind of standing there. But it was penalized for being short because, of course, this game doesn't like if you do 4 or 5 minutes segments, even though in real life that would have been how long these would have been, but whatever. But Brian Pillman and Ric Flair are backstage with the rest of the Horsemen. And Pillman and Flair kind of, talking a little bit about the tag team titles again. But Pillman's kind of saying, hey, we need to keep our attention on the New World Order. We heard what Brett had to say earlier in the night, talking about how nobody can stop the New World Order, and about how we need to figure out a plan to get rid of them once and for all. And then we can refocus our attention back to getting championship gold around our waist. We've been trying to get championship gold over the last year. I was the world champion for a little bit, but we've kind of stumbled on trying to focus too much on getting our hands. We've been stretching ourselves too thin between trying to get our hands on the New World Order and trying to get championships. So we need to focus on one thing. We need to focus on one of those and get that to happen, and then we can focus on the other thing. So Pillman's kind of, a little bit of a leader segment here, as he's kind of stepped up as a leader of the New World Order recently. So we'll have to see what happens with that. We get a tag team title matchup that gets an 87 rating. Good stuff there. As Barry Windham and Sting defeat Sean Waltman and Jerry Lynn in 12:41, and Sting gets Sean Waltman to tap out to the Scorpion Deathlock. Windham and Sting make defense number 3 of the World Tag Team titles. 75 from Waltman, 80 from Lynn, 86 from Sting, and 75 from Barry Windham. Lost heat for the storyline, that's fine. If an 87 rated matchup loses heat for a storyline, I think I'm okay. But there you go. So the New World Order were defeated here by Windham and Sting in this tag team title matchup. So we'll have to see if Windham and Sting can who's next for them as the tag team champions. And we'll have to see what's next for Jerry Lynn and Sean Waltman. Right now the United States Championship is being held by the New World Order. Lynn or Waltman could go for the Cruiserweight Championship. Could try to get that back from Jushin Thunder Liger. They could also, try to take a shot at the world title, or they could just start having to deal with the Horsemen, since the Horsemen seem to really be wanting to focus on getting them out of here. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. And then the main event gets an 89 rating. That's fair. That's fair. I purposely did that. I probably should have made this a minute or two shorter. I knew it wasn't going to be a long. I knew I couldn't do it as a long match because of what was of these things that are red on here. I knew I couldn't do a long match, but I probably should have done it a minute or two shorter than that. But in an exceptional matchup, Steve Austin defeats the Giant 10:57 by pinfall the Quick Cradle to make defense number 2 of the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. It's one of those things where the Giant has Austin up for a choke slam, and Austin somehow able to reverse out of that into a cover for a 3 count there. Of course, this is a universe where Steve Austin was not dropped on his neck by Owen Hart and had his neck broken. So he's still kind of, he's not as spry as he was in the early to mid 90s in WCW, but he's still, he's still in pretty good condition. But he makes defense number 2 of the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. 89 rating here, 98 from Austin, 86 from the Giant. Not enough selling shown, lack of psychology. That is thanks to the Giant. He was also penalized for stamina as well. For those out there who might be wondering, that's why the Giant hasn't won the world title, because since the start of the mod, he has not been very good stamina-wise, or psychology-wise, or selling-wise, and he hasn't really gotten better over time. That's why I've never really given him a shot at the world title, and that's why he's always been more... He's had singles feuds, but he's always been kind of more like the loser of those feuds. Like, he's had more success. He's one of those guys that he wins matches outside of feuds, really, but then when he actually has like blow off matches for feuds, he kind of puts people over because I can't trust him. I can't trust him. He had us at 86, which is still good. You can't go wrong with that. But if I'm gonna have a world champion, or if I'm even gonna have a champion or a major star that's gonna be out here winning feuds and stuff like that, it's gonna have to be somebody who can carry matches on their own too, and he has to constantly be carrying all of his matches. Like, yeah, he had an 86 here, but it was also a lack of psychology and a lack of selling. Like, if he was in a match with somebody who didn't have the psychology and selling that Austin has, this match would have been horrible. So that's kind of the thing that sucks about the Giant in this, is that he's still capable of having really good in-ring performances. I just can't trust him on to build, to push him as a star, unfortunately. So, but he still looks pretty good here, as he did get pinned with a quick cradle or a quick roll-up kind of thing. So he doesn't actually, he does get pinned, but it's not like a decisive victory. So, but there you go, Steve Austin, still your WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and we will have to see who is next to step up to face him. Show gets an 86. I'll take it. I'll take it for what it was. I'll take it. Increased our popularity in 10 regions. You do see there was a couple of pre-show matches. I didn't really go through them because it was more just like I threw some people into a match kind of thing. But, Wolfie D defeated Chris Canyon, and the Caribbean Express got a triple threat tag team victory over Jesse James Armstrong and Ron Killings, as well as Billy Kidman and RVD. So there was that. But not a bad show. It could have been better in a way, but it wasn't a bad show. And it was a 2-hour show because Clash of the Champions was never, a major show. It was always kind of the B level of events. So I'll take it. Clash of the Champions. Feedback has been awesome. Show's been getting fantastic reviews. There was 9,128,263 people that watched it. Good for second on the night. It did run the same time as WCW Saturday Night, but at this point, WCW Saturday Night is basically just an afterthought that we're using to burn out our broadcasting deals with them, because right now it's not even being shown in America. It's only being shown overseas. So there's that. But there you go. 9 million people watching Clash of the Champions. So we'll have to see what is next in the world of WCW. All the champions managed to retain their titles at Clash of the Champions. So we'll have to see who steps up next. Will Megumi Kudo or Medusa get a singles match, or get a singles title shot against Osaki, or will she find somebody else to go up against? Who's going to be up next for Steven Regal and the United States Championship? Who's going to be next for the tag team titles? Is it going to be the Horsemen? Is it going to be someone else? Who's going to be challenging next for the TV title? Who's going to be challenging next for the Cruiserweight title? And who's going to be Steve Austin's next opponent for that World Heavyweight Championship? We will have to find out. But thank you all for watching. Definitely appreciate it. We will catch you... Well, technically, we'll catch you tomorrow for another episode in this series, as it will be Monday Nitro. And possibly Thunder. We'll see. I haven't decided for sure if I'm going to merge the two back into one episode tomorrow or not. You for sure will get Nitro tomorrow. We'll see if I include Thunder in that, or if I keep it as two separate episodes this coming week. Because I kind of want to test some stuff out, and I haven't really looked at the stats yet to test it out, or why, testing wise. But all that aside, you will see another episode of this series tomorrow on the channel. And then, as always, you can also watch tomorrow and every day going forward for yet another video.